Hello, thank you for joining us and welcome to this, the third in our At Home With series. My name's Owen Cottrell. I'm one of the trustees of State of Mind Sport. And in this series, we're having conversations during the coronavirus lockdown with some of State of Mind Sport's presenters and wider team. This week, we're privileged to be joined from what he'd call the sunnier side of the Pennines by one of the longest standing members of State of Mind, and that's Jimmy Gittins. Jimmy, how are you doing?
Good mate, really good, Owen. Thank you for having me on board, mate. Right from the beginning, we've been along with State of Mind, mate.
Yeah, it's been a long time for sure. So, Jimmy, let's start there. Actually, tell me a bit about how you first kind of heard about the charity and what first attracted you to get involved with State of Mind.
Well, obviously, as you know, I'm an ambassador to the RFL Benevolent Fund, which is based around rugby league. And when State of Mind was formed, obviously, where it was intending on going and where it was going to feature within the players, I was very lucky that I got an invite through Steve Ball, my manager at Benevolent Fund, to come and join you guys at Warrington back in the early days where we used to have his meetings there. And I just thought straight away the ideas and what you were trying to implicate and put into the game was just outstanding. And it was a no-brainer to be involved in it.
So, Jimmy, a lot of people will have met you through your work with State of Mind and know your backstory. You know, we made a short documentary with you a few years back to tell that story. But just in case there's people watching this who don't really know, the Jimmy Gittins story, tell us a little bit about your playing days and ultimately what happened that forced you to stop playing the sport of rugby league.
Yeah, I mean, like many of the lads, I was an average rugby league player, and I managed to get a contract at 17, and I played 10 years at a good semi-professional level of rugby league. But unfortunately, towards the back of my career, I went back and played with the local amateur club, Charleston Rovers. And very early doors in that game, I was part of a tackle that left me in quite a bad way. I actually, as I went into, there was nothing malicious, nothing untoward in the tackle, but it left me with a broken neck. I broke my neck in two places, which rendered me quadriplegic, and I now suffer with paralysis. And I have one or two challenges on a day-to-day basis, and that kind of brought the end of my rugby league career to a stop. But it allowed me, I guess, in many ways to pursue other avenues and go on in different directions, which I've certainly done. And I've tried to embrace it the best I can. And that's what I try to give back now when we do the work that we do with State of Mind, when we're going out to all the different places we go across the UK.
So, I mean, I think I, along with everyone who knows you, Jimmy, kind of in awe of the way you almost describe it as you just took a bit of a knock in that game. Like, life changed in an instant for you, obviously. Tell us a little bit about that next period of time, when you were in hospital and then when you came home, and what life was like in the early days of kind of adapting, I suppose.
Well, I suppose it's one of those situations that sometimes when adversity strikes in such a strong way, it's very difficult to have a preemption of it. So I really didn't know what day-to-day looked like. I was literally presented with issues that I never ever in my life thought even possible, let alone imaginable. I couldn't do anything for myself. I had to have everything done for me, and I mean everything. So the areas of that we probably got time to go into. But it left me with lots of different thoughts about could I carry on? Could I really continue to live a life that I kind of thought I was going to have, that clearly now I wasn't going to have? And I think it comes down to the fact that you find solutions in things when you're actually at the bottom of the pit, and sometimes it's not until we go down to those desperate measures that we actually realise just how much inner strength we've got and where we can actually take it and where we can go with it. And it soon becomes apparent that actually every one of us are capable of doing amazing things. We just have to choose different directions sometimes and do things differently, but it doesn't mean to say that they're not achievable. Small achievable goals, mate.
Amazing stuff. So tell me a bit about the work that you are ordinarily doing with State of Mind when you're not stuck at home. You go out and deliver face-to-face sessions, obviously. Tell us a bit about that and what you're currently missing about it.
I'm very much a people's person, and I love going out and meeting different people, different organisations, listening to people's stories and different backgrounds and different things, and ultimately I love the vibe you get from when you actually present in front of people. Sometimes the warmth that you get back is incredible. I've gone to many sessions, and sometimes you go and you think, oh, this one's going to be a tough one. You can kind of get that vibe in the audience, and then at the end of it, you're buzzing because it's actually totally opposite to what you think, and you learn something, you pick something up, something asks you a question, somebody tells you something, and it's pretty incredible. People think that we go out and do what we do to try and help other people, but believe you me, I get a lot from going out and meeting other people and listening to their stories and their circumstances.
Are there particular kind of sessions or things that you've done with State of Mind that live long in the memory? You know, moments where you've been reminded as to why you sort of give so much time to it.
Yeah, because I think sometimes it's very easy to want to forget why you got involved with it, and also two, I think it's very difficult sometimes to try and separate things. I've become my own enemy sometimes when I've got involved with things that I genuinely cannot actually do anything about, and it frustrates me. But the reality to it is that sometimes is life. Sometimes life is that we can't deal with every circumstance and every situation the way we want to do it. Sometimes other people have to be involved, or you have to bring other people. That's why predominantly what we do at State of Mind is we signpost people to go and seek a bit of help or to speak about how they're feeling if they're feeling that way. But one particular situation that springs to mind was that myself and Phil Cooper were down at my home ground here at Wakefield, and we were setting up the marquee, and a couple came over and were talking to us, and then the lady came back and said that her partner was really struggling. And we kind of didn't really take it. We got that a lot. There were lots of people coming and give us different bits of information, and then we were putting the marquee up, and the guy came and was talking to Phil for quite some time. I was kind of in the background. I could hear in what they were saying, and it was quite an in-depth conversation. But at the end of the game, we were putting the marquee down, and this guy came back at the end of the game and directly came to Phil and said he's really thankful for the conversation he's just had, because this game was going to be his last game. He was going home, and he spoke very frankly about going home and to take his life. And the strength of that for me was incredible. We went back to that ground. We've been back to that ground every year since, when we do the round of fixtures. And the guy came to us the following year, and he said that he was expecting he was going to be a granddad. He's come back this time with his grandson, and he's now a granddad. And you know, it's very difficult to try and measure just how powerful that is. And if that is where we go with it, and we can save that one person's life, then God, our job here is done.
That's incredible. I mean, I love all of the stories and anecdotes like that you hear back from, I guess, the front line of State of Mind that you're on, Jimmy, and the work that you do. Speaking of like front lines and frontline workers, tell us a bit about your family and Lucy, your missus, and what she's up to at the moment amongst all this.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously this difficult time, it's here to test us all. But my wife's a paramedic, so she's out there on the front line, and I've got to be brutally honest, it really uneases me when I know that she's got a shift to do and she's going out to work. But I also massively respect what she does and what she's trying to do. And as with all the rest of the NHS workers and the key line workers, so the frontline workers there, you know, they're incredible. You know, they're selflessly going out there to help other people and to make sure that we all kind of stay safe. So, you know, my respect for the NHS. I mean, 17 years ago when I got hurt, I spent 9 months in hospital, and I've got nothing but praise to say for the NHS right from then, right from now. It's unfortunate sometimes that we sometimes have to have circumstances that make us appreciate what we've got. We don't always appreciate it until we actually have to use it and need it. But believe you me, they are literally angels without wings. And you know, like I say, I can't speak highly enough about the NHS.
So what's lockdown meant for you then, Jimmy, in terms of home life and the family? What are your days looking like at the moment?
Cooking. Painting. If you stand still in our house, it gets painted or it gets stained. To be honest, mate, I'll be brutally honest. I mean, given what I've gone through, you know, being at home with my family and being warm and being comfortable and having food in the fridge is like being on a holiday. It really is. I fully appreciate there's people out there doing the hard yards, and there's things not really to plan, and we're losing people to this horrible virus. But we do have to stay strong in ourselves, and we have to look at things and again put things in perspective and look at what we're facing with. For me, I've now got quality time with my family, my children, and my wife, and the amount of times I'm driving up and down motorways at silly o'clock wishing I could be at home with my family, and now and I'm actually getting to know my kids on a different level. You know, when I were out doing all the work and my wife's on different shifts, we don't spend a lot of quality time together, and I'm getting just that now. So if I'm going to take a positive from it, it's that.
Very nice, man. Very nice. What's the homeschooling experience like? Are the kids teaching you much?
Let's just say I'm not the best teacher, clearly. Or that's what they tell me. But to be fair to them, you know, they're knuckling in, they're trying to get the work done. I guess it's not the same for them, not having the friends around them, which is difficult for them. But they are trying to get that knuckled in. And you know, massive respect to the teachers. My children, school that they go to at Lofthouse Gate there, they sent work on a regular basis, and the teachers are constantly checking up on them and see how they're doing, which is great. No, they're getting there, mate. It's different for us all, isn't it? You know, we're all seeing things differently, doing things differently. We're finding our own ways around the situation, and I think if we can do that, that's probably the best way of looking at it.
It's lovely that, like you say, out of all of this, there are positives for a lot of people, and you know, that precious time at home with families, massive. You've also, as well as sort of going out there on the road and delivering the sessions that you do on behalf of State of Mind and others, you've also spent quite a bit of time away from home in the past, Jimmy, because you seem to get addicted to doing crazy endurance challenges after your injury. Tell us a bit about that. What first got you into doing them, and yeah, some of the more memorable kind of challenges that you've been involved in.
Well, I guess to give it a bit of a kickstart is I was told I would not be able to do so many different things that I used to be able to do. And I was told I would never be able to achieve certain things. So when somebody tells me that, then it kind of gives me the opposite approach to it, to prove to them that I actually can do it. And I think that was the starting block really for doing the challenges that I've done. Certainly meeting people like Steve Prescott from the Prescott Foundation. What a selfless, incredible bloke, you know, he was. And the guys that I've come across and made friends with going forward, and the people I've associated myself with, they've inspired me. So I find that inspiring in itself. And so the challenges just came as a byproduct of that, really. And I think the more difficult and the harder and strenuous the challenge is, the more appealing it was to me. Some of them I genuinely didn't think I could even start, let alone complete. But I think it's proof that, you know, if you put your mind to something and you really want something, it is achievable. You just kind of have to do it in different ways, and maybe set your goals out differently to what you probably would normally. Have a bit of patience, try and stay away from the frustration side of it. You know, and if you can do that, you can achieve anything you want, literally.
Tell us about some of the challenges that you've done, some of the standout ones, but also we had a question in for you on Twitter from Pete Stevenson, and he asked, out of the many charity challenges that you've taken part in, what was the most memorable and why?
Well, like I say, clearly, I have done a lot of challenges. There's no doubt about it, and there's some absolutely cracking stories for them. But ironically, the guy that put that question in, Pete Stevenson, him himself is one of my heroes. Pete suffered an injury not dissimilar to mine, and we actually did a challenge in 2013, I think it might have been, and it were the 3 countries, 3 days, and it was going to be two quads on a quad, because we are quadriplegic. And we went from England into Wales, from Wales up into Scotland, and back into England in 3 days. And when we were up in Scotland, we rang in first of all to try and get accommodations where we could stay. We were on a quad bike, we took a little tent, and we were cooking for ourselves, we were fending for ourselves. Where we'd done the challenge before with some large backup, some support, we had nothing. And I remember we pulled up at this field just outside of Gretna Green, up in Scotland, and a lady came to the door, and it was dusk, and it was coming quite dark, and she was stood there in this big long coat, like a wax coat. And we were imagining things underneath his coat, not in that way, but in quite a scary way, because she wasn't the most happy-looking lady. And she just pointed us down to the field and told us where to go. And we went down and we got kitted up and set up. And the light was just about gone, and we'd managed to get a tent up. And all of a sudden, we looked in the distance, and this shadow was coming down towards, and it was this lady. And I swear down, I thought she was carrying something of like a weapon in her arm. What it turned out to be was a bowl of food underneath the coat for us. And she came down to us and actually helped us and set us up with a bit of snap. you can't really understand how difficult that was to try and comprehend, because we were both sad. We couldn't help ourselves if we'd have been attacked or anything. And this lady was just being generous and showing her generosity, and we laughed like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, I have all the challenges, mate, and like I said, I've worked with incredible people, with the foundation, with the Prescott Foundation, with State of Mind, with the guys at State of Mind, with the guys at Prescott Foundation, and like I say, there's so many memorable moments and situations. But yeah, thank you, Pete. Good question, mate. But yeah, good times as well.
Good stuff. So, in terms of challenges, you're not stopping. I think just literally last night or yesterday, you announced a challenge that you've got coming up. Is it this weekend you're doing it?
It's the 2.6 challenge. It's to do with the UK charities that are obviously at the moment probably finding it quite difficult with things going on. And a pal of mine, Paul Sculthorpe, sent me a link to, he was doing a 26-hour challenge on the watt bike. And he always contacts me, and I always say, I'd love to be able to get involved. And he sent me this link to how I could get involved with it. But then we kind of talk about things, and I kind of came with the idea of naturally being inspired by Captain Tom to actually do some laps around my own home, because we're in isolation anyway. So 26, it's kind of linked to the 2.6 numbers, and I've never done it before. I don't even know if it's doable. Well, it is doable because everything's doable, but it's going to task me, that's for sure. Because I would imagine it'll probably take me roughly about 25 minutes, 30 minutes to get around the house. So if you equate that into, I'm probably going to be looking at 14 hours, I would imagine, to get around it all.
So for those that perhaps I've never met you, Jim, what does that challenge look like from the point of view of mobility for you, and how you will walk around the perimeter of the house and the garden?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, because of the level of injury, I predominantly, for any sort of distance, use a wheelchair. That's where I find find my comfort zone, if you like. But I'm very fortunate and lucky that through some great physiotherapy over the years and a bit of persistence, I managed to get back on my feet, and I can get around a little bit on crutches, albeit very slowly. In and around the home, it's very easy because you've got walls around you, you've got far lesser distances to try and cover. But when I get out there in the garden, my balance isn't great. But I'm kind of hoping that using the side of the house will kind of give me some sort of direction as to where I am. So it'll just be a case of slowly. Head down, watch my feet, because I have to watch where my feet are going, because I can't always feel my feet and my legs, especially when they get tired. So I have to watch them to see where they're going. So it brings its own challenges, it'll present its own challenges. But I'm 17 years post-injury, and so now I'm kind of old school at how I do things. Some people might look at it and think, that's crazy, you must be mad wanting to do that. But I do things to try and test myself, and also to prove to other people that even when you think there's no options and you think you're flat and you think things are down, there's always a positive, even in negative situations. I'm yet to find a situation that I can't find some sort of form of positivity in it, whatever that might be. And I dare say people do things differently, and that's fine, that's great. We all find there's different ways to find a way around adversity.
So you doing it non-stop, and when does this start? When are people going to know that you're on this?
Well, I'll kick off on Saturday morning. I'm gonna aim for Saturday morning start about 8 o'clock, and I'll go. I mean, it can't be, when you say non-stop, it can't be non-stop, because I'm going to have to rest. I'm probably going to have a sleep somewhere in between there, because my body just fatigues so quickly. Where most people will run on between 90 and 96%, I run on average between 19 and 23%, my body working. So clearly I get tired quite easily. I'm just praying that there's no rain, because the only thing that can actually stop me is the rain, if it's slippy on the floor for the way the crutches go. But yeah, I'm just intent to crack on with it and see how I go with it. I might get quicker, I might get slower, and I might even break into a jog by the end of it, who knows.
And so, just finally on that, Jimmy, what charities are you supporting through this, and how can people fundraise with you and contribute?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the two chosen charities is obviously State of Mind, which, as we know, we're greatly involved with, and the Steve Prescott Foundation that helps support the RFL Benevolent Fund, which is something very, very close to my heart. The Benevolent Fund have always been there for me since day one. and have helped me and supported me through many, many different difficult situations. I've got live links on both Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. There's just give insight on there. If people look, I'm not asking anybody to break the bank here, but if they can spare a couple of quid, then hopefully then the work that we do within our charity and the Steve Prescott Foundation, when this thing lifts and we're going forward, we can help other people that's vulnerable or that's in a position of need.
Awesome. Well, good luck with it. It's a fantastic challenge. I know how difficult that's going to be, but having done one of these challenges with you, the handbike challenge from Hull to Old Trafford, and seen you operate, I just know that you're going to do it. So good luck, and yeah, keep the head strong while you're doing that.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Just a couple of other questions that have come in on Twitter. One of our colleagues, Simon Barber, asked, tell us about the time you drove into that canal, Jim.
Difficult one to tell it truthfully, so I'll try my best. We were doing this was for a charity, Joining Jack charity, and the idea was to cycle 28 miles down the canal from Southport and end up in Wigan. Unfortunately for me, my challenge only lasted about 8 miles. I was on actually a mobility scooter doing it while the boys were on the bikes, and I was with Paul Sculthorpe and Danny Sculthorpe. And we got to where we came down a little slope onto the side of the canal. So we'd literally got onto the side of the canal, and I think I did about 5 foot on the scooter before I hit a grass verge and went over actually full on into the canal with the scooter. The irony of that challenge was that I was dressed as from Andy, from Little Britain, Andy and Lou. Paul was dressed as Maverick from Top Gun, and Danny was dressed as 118. And another guy that with us had a Superman outfit on. And ironically, when I went in the water, all I remember is Paul coming into the water and actually getting me out and putting me up onto the side. And then somehow we went back into the water and picked up this mobility scooter, which is a big, full-on mobility scooter laden with buckets of money that we've been raising along the way. It's ironic that I was probably going to come to my death underneath the Legion of the Pool Canal with a mobility scooter on top of me full of charity money. And as Paul did and lifted it up, I remember just looking up and I can remember seeing Superman stood there doing nothing, and this big guy dressed as 118 frantically asking if I were okay and seeing if their kid were okay. And when we got out of the canal, I just remember Paul's words saying, why did you hit that big grass turf thing that took you into the water? And I openly said that I didn't see it. I mean, we had a couple of beers before we actually got down to this slope bit for the canal run. But yeah, it wasn't good, mate. It wasn't good. We finished the challenge in a fashion, and it was just one of them days that again just memories that will be with you for life. And it wasn't one of the better challenges to do, or not the outcome of it. Probably the most fun though.
Amazing. Well, at least he didn't end up one of those he died doing what he loved stories anyway.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that would have been perceived at press. Can you imagine?
Right, let's begin to wrap up, Jimmy. So obviously the situation at the minute is less than ideal, but what are you missing about kind of sport and rugby league in particular, and obviously just not being played at all at the moment, but also, how do you feel the rugby league community and family have responded to this pandemic?
Well, I mean, I think if you look at rugby league in general, I think it has a natural sense of resilience to it when adversity strikes, whether it be in a player who suffers a nasty injury, and I know that firsthand just how that works, whether it be players who are suffering with long-term illness, again, I know that 100% how that works. And it's not just about the players and the officials, it's the spectators as well. There's a general sense of wanting to help people when we fall on hard times within rugby league. And I think that rugby league is quite unique that way, that we've got so many big-hearted, generous people and people that want to help and support people when in the time of need. And I think that is what rugby league is doing right now. I feel for the players who are probably at home trying to stay relatively fit and healthy. not necessarily knowing what the future holds. But again, that's the same for probably a lot of people at the moment, whether it be in work or in business and different things. But on the whole, we come together. And I think rugby league, like everywhere else at the moment, be it the NHS or the frontline workers or the necessity workers, schools, colleges, us ourselves, we've all got to find a way through this. And if we can do it together as a unit, as a team, we'll be far better for it at the end of it. When we come out of it, we will have a different perspective on things. We'll know how to deal with things. I always say that, sometimes you've got to kind of limit your disappointments. You've kind of got to discipline your disappointments. And if you can do that, you can find ways around things that sometimes you can shock yourself with it. But like I say, we do it together, we do it as a unit, we do it as a team, and we'll come out all right.
Just to pick up on that point of resilience, obviously that's a huge part of what State of Mind kind of advocates, and you personally, Jimmy, through your lived experience. State of Mind have recently started developing some actual practical guidance sort of documents that are all available on the club, this charity's website via the resources page, I think it is. And there's one particularly around resilience, and I know that it's one that I think you're going to do some work with me on in the future, bring that practical guidance to life in video form. But in terms of what is resilience to you, and what kind of advice might you give people who might be struggling at the moment, and maybe is there ways they could perhaps build up their resilience to change?
I think in reality, mate, is that we are not born resilient. Resilience is something that's formed through life or through circumstances or situations that we find ourselves in. And if you look at the current situation that we're in right now, every one of us will deal with this situation a little bit differently to the person next to us. And so indirectly, we are building our resilience right now. And I think there'll be a lot of people come out of this for the better, the way they've adapted to things and done things differently. And I think it's, people, we talk about resilience in the sense of being able to adapt to the situation that we're in. We are all adapting right now. We're adapting every day, knowingly or unknowingly. And we're adapting for the better. There's lots and lots of positives and pluses to come out of this negativity and this situation right now. Again, I stress, my heart goes out to the people that are doing the hard yards and they're struggling, and we know the reality to things. But we have to look at the brighter side of it. We have to look at the side that brings us out of the other side and what we're left with. And resilience is that thing that you'll come out with, and you will then look back on things and you'll probably appreciate things more. You will experience things differently. You will see things and hear things and taste and look at things differently. That is what resilience is in a nutshell. It's somebody put on one of the questions about, are you an oak tree or are you a palm tree? And I like that idea that, if you just stand there and take everything on board and don't move with it, eventually you get weighed down on it. It's like an oak tree, you get blown, a big wind comes and it blows you out of the ground. A palm tree, you adjust and you're flexible and you move around with it. And if you can do that and take things for what they are and be flexible about it, you will withstand a lot more pressure and situations. And you'll come out of it, like I say, for the best. And you've got to come out with a big smile on your face as well.
Amazing stuff. Listen, Jimmy, this has been amazing. Thank you, man. There's a couple of other questions we had in on Twitter. One from Danny Sculthorpe that I think he can ask you himself personally. But yeah, I think it's been great, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks ever so much for giving us your time today. Good luck with the challenge at the weekend. Hope the weather stays fair for you, mate. And listen, just good luck for the future as well. I hope you get back out there with the charity and with your colleagues on the front line of State of Mind's work soon. And yeah, just all the best to the family and look after yourselves.
Yeah, I'm actually missing them, mate, believe it or not. I know you interviewed Danny on the first week, and I thought he came across very well. Joe has done an interview, incredible interview. Even Mr. Vivas and my old mucker, Mr. Ian Smith, we love doing what we do. And we are probably at our happiest when we're out there doing what we do. So hopefully, please, God forgiving, we can get through this to the other side, all safe and well, and we can go back to doing what we do and enjoy and hopefully help other people again.
Amen to that. All right. Thanks ever so much, Jim. All the best, mate.
Thank you, mate. Take care, pal. Look after yourself.
And you. Catch you soon.
Bye, pal. Bye, mate. Bye.